Hey, I'm Joshua Jarvis, and today I want to talk to you about answering the question, are leaders born? Now, that's a really popular question. If you were to Google it, you'd find that there's a lot of people talking about how leaders are born or they aren't born, and whether the research what the research says. And there's two camps. Some people think leaders are born, and some people think that leaders aren't born. They're made through life. And so let me tell you the answer to that. I've done a lot of research on this. 100% of all leaders are born. Even Jesus was born. And so what that means is the ultimate dad joke time. All leaders are born because everyone's born. There was no, unless you're Adam and Eve, you weren't born. You weren't born. Right? They were created. So there's only two leaders that ever existed that were not born. Everybody else was born. So yes, all leaders are born and all leaders are made, right? So you are a leader, whether you believe it or not. I believe that in my heart that you are a leader, no matter whether you identify yourself or not, because you have some influence. John Maxwell says that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so therefore, you have at least a small amount of influence. Now, it might be just in your friends. It might be in your family. It might just be over your kids or over your parents or whatever, but you have a small amount of influence. So therefore, you are a leader whether you want to be or not, right? So you are a leader. Now, how great leaders, I think, are made. They're not born. And so let's talk about the part where people think leaders are born. People tend to think that good leaders are charismatic. And so they assume that people with charismatic personalities, those that are outgoing, are good leaders. But what the research actually says is that great leaders actually contain this one characteristic, and it's not charisma. Someone says it's not charismatic. It's not charisma. Charisma has nothing to do whether a leader is great or not. Now, it may help you remember them. It may help you like them, because they have a charisma. Gary Vee is very popular. He has a lot of charisma, but is he a great leader? I don't know. But the one characteristic that makes a great leader is actually humility. In every research that's ever been done, when someone says, what is a great leader? When they take it away, it's humility. It's humility to always be growing, to know that you don't know a lot. So you may find someone, you say, well, this person is not very humble, and I think they're a really good leader. And they've been driven to grow. And so it takes a certain amount of humility to realize that you do not know it all, and that you have to continue to grow. The other thing about humility is humility to be willing to fail and learn from your failures. Most entrepreneurs that are considered successful leaders actually have failed a lot of times. And that requires humility to admit failure, to admit defeat, to sort of accept it, and then learn and grow from it, right? So that's another thing that it's a characteristic of humility. Most people don't associate these two things with humility. The other one that is important is the ability to listen to others. Now, this is the one where if you were to poll 100 of your famous leaders, that one they may not all immediately identify. But every great leader has other people around them that help them be a great leader, right? They fill in their weak spots, they fill in their blind spots a lot of times. And it's kind of the unsung hero of humility, if you will, is that ability to listen to others. And so humility is actually the one trait that every great leader has. Some are good leaders and they don't have humility. There's some people who can charge into battle without humility and be very, and that only can take you so far. But a great leader, one that inspires others, one that creates unity and trust in an organization, one that gets a lot of things done, is someone who is humble. That does not mean weak. Now, what does humility mean? Humility is actually power under control. That's complete power under control. What it means is that you have the power to do a lot of things. You have the power, the authority to do things, but you're choosing not to do it because of some other reason, right? So it's under complete control. You think about Jesus, had the power to destroy, the world, had the power to bring people under control, and yet he chose not to show humility, to teach us a lesson about humility, in a sense that he had this complete power under control. He could heal someone on a moment's notice, and he chose to touch people to heal them a lot of times. And that's really, really because he wanted to show that he valued other people. And so you see this with other leaders as well, like great leaders that aren't Jesus, that exhibit humility, and they had power to do things, but they chose to do a different way to actually lead their organization, to lead their team, to lead their army, as opposed to just sort of enforcing their will and being a dictator, so to speak. So all leaders are born, right? Dad joke. But great leaders have humility, and that's something that you can build. That's something you can learn, you can read about, you can become more humble over time. And it simply just means by basically leaving your pride at the door, leaving your ego at the door, and being willing to learn from others, being willing to learn from your failure, and to know that you don't know it all. Because like I didn't know that last one, and I had to look at my notes, and that's it. And so hopefully that means I'm humble. No, I'm continuing to grow in my humility. I'm the most humble person you know. Okay, now this video is just devolved into jokes. But in any case, leaders are born. Leaders are made leaders are grown because they've learned humility. And so hopefully this has helped you somehow understand humility and leadership, so you do not have to be born with a special gene to be a leader. All you have to do is grow in humility. And that is the point of this video. And so hopefully you enjoyed it. I'd love your comments. What do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Leave the comments below. I'll respond to all of them. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.